So listen, generally I don't really give a flip about awards, especially the Grammys. The Grammys are the most ridiculous award in the history of awards. There are like 8,000 categories. Anyone who has ever done like a spoken word album or a children's album or like whatever reggae fusion album has a Grammy lying around somewhere, because they give out Grammys for like every flipping category. It's the most absurd award on the planet. And yet still, I do think that it says a lot about someone's self-worth when they're nominated for an award, because you can really tell everything you need to know about a person. Do they have deservability? Do they have internal security? Do they love themselves? Do they appreciate and are grateful for the contribution that they're making to the world? You can tell a lot about a person based on how they react when they're nominated for what I would think would be a pretty prestigious award in their industry. And based on the self-worth of at least 3 of the nominees in the Best Children's Music category for this year's Grammys, I think that, I'm not sure that they would be people that I would want my children learning from, because if I had children, the people who I would want to be their teachers would be the ones with the absolute highest self-worth, because then my children would know to have high self-worth themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing narcissistic about that. There's nothing bad about that. You are going to have every single person in a child's life is going to teach them to not have self-worth. I mean, we see this all the time. Listen, if you present any amount of self-confidence, you're going to be called a narcissist at some point in your life. There's nothing wrong with loving yourself. There's nothing wrong with appreciating yourself. There's nothing wrong with being grateful for having the opportunity to make a contribution to the world on such a scale that you literally get nominated for a Grammy. And yet, here we are in the most 2021 thing that has happened so far this year. 3 Grammy contenders share outrage at all-white category decline nominations. Yes, we have the white men of the children's music world declining their Grammy Awards because they can't do it. They're too white, and we can no longer have white men getting Grammys. Let's read this story from NPR. 3 of the 5 acts nominated for the 2021 Best Children's Grammy Album are saying no thanks. They're upset that the contenders in their category are all white. One of them is Alistair Mock, whose nominated album Be a Pain is about American heroes who stood up for their principles. Dr. Martin Luther King, Harvey Milk, Rosa Parks, the Parkland shooting student protesters, and others. So he's literally made an album about civil rights movements in various different places, and he just can't accept an award because he's white. He's white. He probably gets more virtue points. The virtue points that he gets from declining this award are actually probably much more valuable to him than the actual Grammy itself, which says a lot. Upon hearing the news that he was nominated along with 3 other white male acts and 1 white woman, ooh, we've got 1 woman in there, Mock smacked his head. After this year, to have an all-white slate of nominees seemed really tone deaf, because the color of our skin is all that matters in the land of children's music. I mean, do kids only listen to music when they can see videos and stuff? Like, I just can't with these people. I can't. The Boston-based singer-songwriter says he'd love to get a Grammy, but I don't want it like this, where the playing field's not even. Dude, you make children's music. Get a flippin' grip. Mock is protesting by turning down his nomination. So are fellow acts Dog on Fleas and the Okie Dokie Brothers. We thought it was the strongest thing we could do to stand with people of color whose albums are too often left out of Grammy nominations, says Joe Melander, one of the Okie Dokie Brothers. He hopes to expand notions of what children's music is. This is not just white guys with guitars playing for kids. We want to welcome all different types of music to the community. The Okie Dokie Brothers, Mook, and Dog on Fleas, all white guys with guitars, sent a letter to the Recording Academy asking that their names be removed from the final Grammy ballots. They wrote that they couldn't, in good conscience, benefit from a process that has historically overlooked women and artists of color. Oh my, like, listen, if you get nominated for an award, if you have any self-worth at all, accept the GD nomination. Be grateful that you got the nomination. Be grateful that you are in a position to get that. I literally just got off the phone with Joshua, because we meet weekly, because he is actually my coach in real life. We don't just do a show on this channel every Tuesday night at 9:30. He is actually my coach in real life. And we were talking about how people, when they get into positions that many other people might be jealous of, like Joshua has a lot of like actor clients and celebrities, things like that. A lot of times after a while, they end up actually being miserable in their jobs because they don't have the self-worth to appreciate that they are in a position that so many people are jealous of, so many people envy. And so it's so important when you're in this type of position that you have to take care of yourself. There's nothing wrong with building yourself up and feeling good about what you've accomplished, even if you're white. Yes, even white men can feel good about contributing something that gets them a goddamn Grammy nomination. Let's see, where did I leave off? The other Okie Dokie brother, Justin Lansing, said they felt a special responsibility to ask for change in a genre tasked with modeling fairness and kindness to kids and families. Last month, the nominees met with the Recording Academy's new CEO, Harvey Mason Jr., and its first ever Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Valicia Butterfield Jones. Oh, good. So now the Grammys have a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. Nothing could possibly go wrong with this. We're an organization that's ready for change, but we're not unique to the challenges of the world and to the challenges of the industry, Butterfield Jones says of the 63-year-old organization being revamped. I think it's time. We saw in 2020 a racial reckoning. It's now, it's, up to us what we're going to do to take real and meaningful action. Yes, because white performers turning down Grammy nominations is real and meaningful change, because, even if they replace those 3 white artists with 3 artists of color, now you know what the conversation's going to be. Well, they could only get the nomination because the white artists drop out, and isn't that unfair in our industry? Butterfield Jones says she's since started her job in May, she's been looking for ways to increase diversity among the Academy's membership and in the Grammys' secret nominating process. The Academy recently partnered with racial justice group Color of Change to begin holding itself accountable and record labels more accountable. They're pushing for more transparency at the Academy and support for artists, especially those who are Black, because that's the only kind of oppressed racial group, Black people, the only ones, not Latinos, not Native Americans, definitely not Asians. We're not going to go to bat for the Asians. Like, no K-pop allowed. No K-pop allowed. We have made very clear and firm commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion as part of our core values, Butterfield Jones says. I think many of the actions that we've taken and have put in place are signs of that, but we still have a lot of work left to do, and it will be a never-ending process of doing the work, because this is all people do anymore is preach about how they're doing this important and necessary work. So here it is, the category of children's music forever changed by the white men declining their Grammy nominations. Doesn't music feel more diverse now? Don't we feel more diverse than ever in the category of children's music? Welcome to 2021. It is what it is. Alright folks, if you enjoyed this video, I do content almost every single day around news, politics, culture, things that I find interesting, crazy, moronic, stupid stories like this. If you enjoyed what I did today, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, turning on notifications, giving it a thumbs up, even if you don't like the topic, because the thumbs up is for the video, not for the topic. Come on now, don't screw up my YouTube just because you're thumbs downing this topic, for crying out loud. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.